Welcome to this special report from West Fair Communications, publisher of the Westchester and Fairfield County Business Journals, westfaironline.com, and News at Noon and other electronic newsletters to keep you fully informed. I'm Peter Katz. Banks and the U.S. banking system have been attracting a lot of attention recently, but one aspect of banking that hasn't received the attention it really deserves is what banks do to serve the local communities in which they operate and their involvement in social and philanthropic activities. One of the country's most prominent banking and financial organizations, JPMorgan Chase, has a long history of involvement in advancing racial equity and promoting inclusive economic growth. Joining us is Wayne Elliott, Executive Director and Marketing Director, Consumer Banking at JPMorgan Chase. Wayne, welcome.
It's great to be here, Peter.
And let's plunge right into this. Tell us a little bit about some of the programs that JPMorgan Chase has that I'll bet most people have never heard of.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to talk about this. I've worked for the firm for over 30 years, and I'm a Westchester resident. I live in Mount Kisco, and I've lived up here for the past 14 years as well. So it's really exciting to be able to talk about what our firm does when it comes to racial equity and inclusion. So you may have heard, after the George Floyd issue that occurred a couple years back, lots of companies were making commitments to invest in Black and brown communities. Well, Chase has been focused on the underserved communities for a number of years, and we just amped it up after George Floyd. So what do I mean by that? We're celebrating 10 years of reinvesting and reinvigorating the Detroit marketplace, where we sent in resources, we sent in expertise to help create jobs, create opportunity, and provide, I want to say, financial expertise in that marketplace for 10 years ago. And we've kind of modeled that nationally. What do I mean by modeling that? So we have this racial equity commitment where we said that we would contribute $30 billion to build the race to close the racial equity financial gap in Black and brown communities. And how we were going to do that.
That is an enormous amount of money. That's a staggering sum, even for a company as large as Chase. How is it that you decided, or the company decided, to make a sizable investment like that?
Well, we do a lot of things based on data. And what the data told us was that it would take a significant commitment, financial commitment, both from a resource perspective, and when I say resource perspective, I mean people power, as well as actual dollars and cents. So that $30 billion covers all lines of business and how we want to finance affordable housing, make loans to small business owners, as well as ensure that we're helping individuals, families get mortgages, as well as create savings accounts, wealth accounts, become more financially stable within their communities. And we targeted specific communities that were underserved.
When you say specific communities that were underserved, are there such communities in Westchester and the New York metro area, or is this something that would be confined to places like Detroit, Los Angeles, some cities where there have been headlines and outright racial strife on occasion?
Well, actually, we have at least 3 within our Westchester community, right? So we've got Mount Vernon is one of our target areas, Yonkers, as well as Poughkeepsie. So we have dedicated resources in those locations where we have actually put feet on the ground. We call them community managers, who their sole job is to be out in the community and helping with financial health education, doing workshops on affordable housing, and bringing the resources of the firm to bear in those communities.
That must take a sincere commitment on the part of management to not only invest such a staggering sum. I mean, $30 billion is a lot of money, let's face it. Plus to devote the employees the time, the effort that it takes for this. How would you describe Chase's commitment?
Well, so Let me give you two specific examples. So we are opening up 17 community centers nationally, one of the first to do it. And those locations are specifically designed to be focal points for the community to come in and receive these educational workshops, to receive workshops on small business ownership, home ownership, etc. So Harlem was the first nationally. We're in Atlanta, we're in Miami. We've got the satellite offices in Mount Vernon and in Yonkers. So not only do we have the locations, but we've hired 150 people to do this work just in my line of business, which is consumer banking. But we've also hired individuals in our home lending group, in our business bank group as well. So we put a lot of people behind the resources along with the infrastructure. And I'll give you a couple more things. So we decided that as a part of that commitment, we were going to make sure that we invested in not only the communities, but the businesses through our supplier diversity program. So we've invested an incremental $750 million to serve to allow Black and brown businesses to get a part of what our firm spends in local communities. So in Westchester alone, I believe the total number that we spend with all of the branches that we have, all the corporate offices, we spend about $480 million. So as a part of that, we want to make sure that we're allowing those businesses that are up and coming to take advantage of how much we spend in our communities.
This sounds like a real, genuine, long-term commitment, not just a hit and run thing that you might do someday, to gather short-term publicity. Is that a fair characterization?
I think that's an excellent point that you bring up, because you may have also heard in the news that a lot of the companies that made commitments after George Floyd are now kind of backing away from that. Chase, we've been doing it for a long time. And I was at a meeting with our CEO 2 weeks ago where he said the $30 billion commitment was really just kind of table stakes for us to put a stake in the ground. But his expectation is that we weave diversity, equity, and inclusion through all the things that we do as a firm going forward, from hiring our employees, growing leadership, making sure that we're building communities. So when we're one of the few banks that's still opening branches. We're the only bank nationally that has a branch in all 48 contiguous states. And of the 100 branches we've opened in the past 3 years, 50 of them have been in Black and brown communities and low to moderate income communities. So we're full bore. We know that when we go into communities and we put a location there, that economic development happens around those locations. So it's a full bore, all across the board, all steam ahead, making sure that we're building communities. Because when one boat rises, all boats rise.
Is part of it just bringing Chase into communities that either are short on banking in general, or haven't had a Chase presence, so that you can reach the people and they can actually reach you? They can just walk in off the street and sit down with a banker, and try to work out their needs. Let's say it's for a mortgage or perhaps a business loan. Is that part of it, just having the physical presence?
Well, it's two parts. We believe that we like our clients to be able to bank with us where, when, and how they want. We know that people use the phone, people are digital now, but when you want to do things that you think or you feel you don't have as much knowledge about, when you're talking about mortgages, when you're talking about starting up a business or getting business help, you want to have that face-to-face connection. So that's why we want to have a presence in as many communities as possible, and make sure that the what we're doing in those locations is providing advice and solutions to help build the community. So we don't want to just be there to be there, but we want to be partners with the community.
What kind of reaction do you get? Do people think, that this will be a genuine opportunity for them to get the mortgage that perhaps they have not been able to get that business loan that they need?
Well, what's exciting about this is the more seminars that we do, the more mentoring we do of small businesses, the more success stories that we hear. So, for example, we did a home buying seminar in one of our Yonkers locations. And we invited folks from the community as well as clients from the bank to attend. And what we found was a lot of the clients had the ability to buy a mortgage, but just didn't know that they could. So the seminar really just opened people's eyes, one, to the ability to do it. The second thing around small business is that what we found is small businesses don't, when they're just starting out, they don't necessarily know, like, how do I get access to capital? How do I create a marketing plan? How do I make sure that my customers know what I do and how to get in touch with me? So we have two success stories from our small business mentoring program. One where two African-American women, the name of their company is called Vontel Eyewear. These are, they found a need that for luxury glasses at an affordable price. So when they went through our mentoring program, they weren't able to get credit before they went through the program. As they graduated from the program, not only were they able to get credit to expand their business, but it facilitated them getting national contracts. So they now have relationships with Madison Square Garden, with Saks Fifth Avenue, and they were featured with Nickelodeon as well. Another more local success story we had was it's a company called Heart and Hands Cleaning, and they're a janitorial service that operates out of Connecticut and Westchester, and what they needed was marketing help. And so as a part of the mentoring program, the senior business consultant that was working with them helped them use their postings on LinkedIn and other networks to get business. From that, ironically enough, they were able to make contacts with some of our vendors and get business through them as well. So it's what we like, and part of the reason why I'm excited to be on this with you is that the folks who are in the networks doing the seminars are excited about the outcomes. We just need more people to know about what we're doing.
Well, it's quite a story to tell, and especially when you have such nuts and bolts success stories out there from small businesses that really did get a jump start because of this. But it sounds as if what you're offering is much more than just nuts and bolts of how to fill out an application form for a loan. It sounds as if you're really bringing general business expertise to the table.
Yeah, and what we found, right? So part of what we do, so what I do besides my day job is as the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council for our Westchester, Mid-Hudson Valley area. What we found when we listened to our clients was that in some cases, they needed to know more about how do I access capital? How do I market my company? How do I get more customers? So based on that information, we created these mentoring programs to help facilitate those kinds of learnings for those customers. But in addition, in some cases, they do need the nuts and bolts. Let me make sure I complete this application properly and file it with the right department so that I can be certified as a minority women-owned business enterprise within the state and get access to those funds. So some of it's nuts and bolts, and some of it's just basic blocking and tackling that as a small business owner, or what we are aware of is you're just trying to generate revenue, and you may not be thinking about the larger picture. And in that case, that's where we come and try and help clients.
Wayne, are there particular things that have happened that have made you feel especially satisfied? The feeling that, hey, I've done good here. What we're doing at Chase is a good program. We're really helping people. Are there situations like that just make you feel good when you go home at night?
So as I mentioned before, I worked for this company for 30 years. And I started with Chase Manhattan Bank through multiple mergers. And I've never been more proud to work for an organization and an institution that says what it means and means what it says. So this whole DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is not a tagline. We're not trying to just make sure that we're branding for revenue's sake. We're making investment in people. We're hiring the right people. We're training the right people. We're keeping them. We're investing in communities, and by investment meaning we're we're actually lending money to developers to create affordable housing. We're actually giving mortgages in communities where historically there was redlining that occurred. We are helping businesses grow. And it's not just, and I want to emphasize this is a business imperative. So it's not, we're just doing this because it's kind of it is the right thing to do, but it's also the right thing to do is help clients, customers build businesses, have homes, and have a living wage to raise their kids in a community that they're all proud of. So
it's almost as if you've developed here an economic engine that's based on the idea of wanting to do good in the community. Is that fair to say?
I 100% agree with you. My passion, having grown up as an individual that without a lot of means and being raised by my grandmother in her 70s, working 2 jobs, taking care of someone that was 90 years old, that my passion is making sure that all communities are able to make sure that folks, when they retire, they don't have to go back to work unless they want to. That when they send their kids to college, they can send their kids to college to the best school they get into and not have to worry about paying for it because they've had a nice financial plan that they started early. So my passion is making sure that we help these communities live the way all communities should live. And when that happens, we know good things occur. We know that wages go up. We know that kids attend school and graduate. We know that communities are safer. And I believe that Chase is trying to be a part of making that happen.
Is this also something, and you sort of hinted at that, is this also something that enables people to better manage their money and to grow the kind of resources that will help send the kids to college? Does it go just beyond mortgages and business loans and things of that?
Yeah, you're 100%, Peter. So we have done just in the last year and a half alone, over 150 financial health seminars nationally. Just in Westchester. And the purpose there is to help people figure out how to budget, how to save, how to plan, and then how to create a way to grow to wealth. So our whole part of the plan is making sure that we increase the education of our folks who may not have had the time to sit down and kind of really think through this process. And we're not the only ones doing this, but I'm just proud of the fact that we were really kind of one of the first driving the bus in that direction.
What kind of reactions do you get from top management at Chase when you come back and you report on some of these successes? In the scheme of things, from the ivory tower of top management, sometimes the little things don't add up to much. But what kind of reaction do you get on this program?
Well, here's the thing, right? And what I'm excited about at our firm is everything has to be measurable, right? So people don't really get excited about the things that are kind of puffy. They get excited about when people's lives are changed. So what we're hearing is that there is an increased investment in our community and business division. And what that means is rather than kind of scaling back our investment in these community managers, senior business consultants, based on the early returns, in the early returns meaning we're helping people get more loans, helping people get more mortgages, helping businesses develop, we want to make sure that's sustainable. So the message is, hey, this is a great start. Let's make sure that the businesses that we help get those loans don't need loans that they're operating like, for lack of a better term, mainstream businesses where you get a loan not when you need it, but when you're able to. That it's more so the focus is let's bring everyone up to the right level, and we will continue to celebrate the investment work we're making in these communities.
It sort of sounds like it's success building upon success. Is that a fair characterization?
I'll give you something that we've just learned. So I used to live when when I was a junior in college, I took a year off and I lived in Anacostia, Maryland, the one of the most impoverished areas in the country, and at that time one of the most dangerous. We opened up a branch in that location last year, and what we found is that where we've opened that branch, all of a sudden over the past year, we have more businesses lining up around that branch. Every vendor that we used was community based. Every person we hired was from the community. So we believe that where we go and where we kind of plant our flag, good things will occur. Success will continue to breed success. And because of that, now we know when we go into a new community, we might say to another corporate partner, hey, if you come alongside of us, it will accelerate growth.
So really, you're helping develop communities as well as the people in those communities. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, the especially where the economy is today, and where things are getting a little tougher, right? It is very important that we're able to establish within communities locations that businesses are sustainable. Like if you're in Westchester, and I've lived up here, for a good 15 years, and then another 10 years in Greenburgh before that, or 14 years, you know that you can go from town to town and see empty space, right? And that's not what you want, because if there's empty space, that means that a need is not being fulfilled. Someone doesn't have a job. So the more we're able to penetrate that and reduce that, the better off communities are.
Part of the story here, you mentioned affordable housing. There's a great demand for affordable housing. Uh, are you able to help make a dent in this need to fill the gap that exists through your programs?
Well, there's two pieces of this. One is there's the education piece, right? We have a number of programs where we will give grants to first-time home buyers. We will give pricing reductions depending on where some people live. So that's one way. That's on the consumer end. The other is we can invest in development of affordable housing. And what's controllable is we can find developers that will be within those communities. The challenge is not necessarily of whether the communities are willing to build more affordable housing. But we've done a couple of things. I know that we've got an arrangement. We worked with a local organization called the Foundry Phase 3, where we've given work with them on getting a tax credit for affordable housing. So we've worked with some nonprofits, but I was at a ribbon cutting event in White Plains where we helped refurbish affordable housing units for housing that was built in the late 60s. And I think we did a $25 million line of credit facility to help get that renovated. So we're doing multiple things. And when I say multiple things, we're also maybe not in the affordable housing space, but an example will be we're trying to make sure that we lend our policy making voice to the government. So some of the other things that we do is when we find an issue, we will write a position paper and then try and get legislation to help. So so it's not just the dollars, it's not just the investment, it's also working with our government officials. And then finally, it's volunteerism. It's putting boots on the ground, and if we're working with Habitat for Humanity or other organizations that are helping clients refurbish their homes, we're out in the community doing that as well.
How has this been received by the staff at JPMorgan Chase? People enthusiastic about getting out to help?
Yeah, and the great thing about our firm is everything is like systematized. Our biggest challenge is we've got so many opportunities to volunteer. It is like, where do I go? How do I get there? So for example, I have 100 people that work on my team. The challenge is we've got to do volunteer work either after hours or on Saturdays and Sundays if our branches aren't open. However, we've got folks who, if a person's very interested in helping in education, they can volunteer for any of the events that we've got scheduled with our partner organizations. If it's for renovations, if it's for painting, if it's for working with folks who have, there's an organization that does guide dogs, like they kind of breed guide dogs for folks with blind folks. We can take a puppy home and kind of train him for a while. So we do lots of things that give our team members opportunities to volunteer, and they're more than willing and excited to be involved.
Now, how long would you say the commitment is going to be on the part of Chase? Have the results been so dramatic that it's something that Chase is now committing to for the long haul with no time limit whatsoever? What happens when the $30 billion has been spent all,
Yeah. So I'll put it this way, right? You can never commit on behalf of a CEO of a firm, but I'll say it this way. We know from a data perspective that where we have presence and where we invest, good things happen. And so long as we can continue to validate that, we will continue to invest because we are a for-profit concern. We do want to make money. And as long as I feel very confident based on Jamie's history that as long
you're
as
talking about Jamie Dimon now.
Yes, as long as he's CEO, I can't see us changing tack because it's not just to him a dollars and cents thing. It's a moral imperative, right? And when you have that kind of leadership at the head, because it's got to be at the head, then I feel confident that we will continue along this path.
How would you sum up this program, this effort that JPMorgan Chase has been making? Is there kind of an elevator speech to give that sums this up in terms that people can instantly recognize?
Our desire as a firm is to be the bank for all, to be the simplest to do business with, and to build trust in our communities. And we want to help make dreams come true for everyone, everywhere. And by focusing on helping not only everyone achieve their financial goals and dreams, this program will last the long term. My belief is that what our communities need to know is that JP Morgan is investing in them, believes in them, and we have a desire for them to achieve their financial goals and dreams.
And how would you sum up the success of this program so far?
We've helped 1,000 businesses, 1,000 small business owners in just the past 2 years. We've had over, just in Westchester alone, 150 financial health seminars. We have, based on my understanding, we made a 5-year commitment on this $30 billion from a capital expenditure perspective. We're more than 60% of the way ahead of a process within 2 years. So I would say that we've been very successful. Our challenge is just getting the word out.
And I hope that we've managed to do some of that today. Wayne Elliott, Executive Director and Market Director, Consumer Banking at JPMorgan Chase, thanks so much for being with us. I'm Peter Katz for West Fair Communications.
Thank you very much, Peter.